in age of COVID-19, many people lacking social interactions with other people. What kind of impact this lack of social interaction makes? The group of MIT researchers look into this, and they found out social isolation actually provokes the brain activity that's very similar to when you feel hungry. When you feel hungry, you basically trigger the same brain areas as when you feel lonely. So this research, it's super interesting. We never, at least I never thought of being hungry is actually same as being lonely in terms of your brain areas activity. So that's what we're going to look into today. By the way, if you would like to receive more scientific paper reviews, technology reviews, don't forget to subscribe. Your subscription is my greatest support to make more videos like this. So without further ado, let's back to our topic. The researchers, they just found out that when you feel lonely, it actually activates the same brain regions as when you feel hungry. That's a little bit strange because feeling hungry feels very different from feeling lonely, right? The conclusion is they kind of prove that positive social interactions are a very basic human needs, just like we need food. Food is definitely one of the basic human needs, and positive social interactions as well. Remember, it's positive social interaction, not a negative one. They've collected data during 2018 and 2019, which was before COVID, of course, and they recruit a group of college students. Majority of them were college students. They put them in a very small room. In a room, they has no window. There's no window for 10 hours, and they prohibit them to use. And there's no internet. I mean, there's probably internet. There's a computer that you can contact the researcher when you tell them what's the situation in case of emergency. But you cannot really use the computer. You cannot use phones. You cannot use internet for majority of the time. And if you use internet, that's only for emergency usage. Okay, then also they try to design a fully isolated room for them. They also deliver food at their door and only text them to collect the food when the deliver people is not there. So it's very, very stringent. And there are actually also bathroom in the campus, in the building. And they will make sure when you go to the bathroom, you will not meet other people. So they design a very comprehensive isolation environment for people. After the 10 hours isolation, they will ask people to take an MRI machine. But the problem is, usually when you take an MRI machine, you will need to talk to the operators for a while to figure out how to use them. That's introductions about everything, instruction. But they want to avoid this kind of social interaction. So they taught the students, the participants, how to put themselves in the MRI machine before they get into the room, 10 hours before that. So that after 10 hours of isolation, those participants can just put themselves in the MRI machine, and the operator just outside the room to operate the machine. So this is very, very interesting. They try to avoid contact as much as possible. And when they scan their brain after the isolation, they show them some pictures of people interacting with each other. See if they can trigger their brain areas. So, I really want to social now because I see other people interacting with each other. And this is one experiment. And these 40 participants also attending another experiment, which is they'll be put in the same room. But this time it's different. They put a room maybe in different rooms, but this time it's put them to being hungry. They experience 10 hours of fasting on a different day, of course, on a different day. After they'll scan their brain in an MRI machine, and when they scan them, they also show them the picture of food, and to see if it can trigger their hungry activities in the brain. And the interesting thing is they found out react they triggers actually are the same as when they feel lonely and seeing the picture interacting each other. They also have the control group, which is just showing the picture of the flowers. So the conclusion is they just prove that being lonely, craving for social interactions, being hungry and craving for foods, they will trigger exactly the same region of brain activities. And there's definitely some caveat of this experiment because when they say no social interactions, there's also no internet as well. There's no any virtual social interactions as well. But when we doing maybe quarantine during the COVID or work from home for a very long time, we still have virtual social interactions. We definitely have many virtual calls with colleagues, with our family, with our friends. But in that experiment, they didn't have that at all. They just be put in a windowless room for 10 hours. So that's very different. So in the future, the research also mentioned they want to know if virtual social interactions help. Yeah, means they will probably allow the people to use computers during the 10 hours. And that's pretty cool. And they also found another thing is if you have a very good social life, good social interactions before doing the experiment, after the 10 hours, you will feel more lonely. Your brain activity of loneliness will become even stronger than those who didn't have very, very social, interactive lives before experiments. For those people who already feel lonely before experiments, they don't feel that lonely. So I guess that's kind of interesting because there can be two reasons that people feel lonely before the experiment. First is they don't want to feel lonely, but they just become lonely because of certain forces outside their control. And another reason is the people feel more lonely. Maybe they can stand loneliness more than other people. So after even 10 hours isolation, they don't feel that lonely. We don't know that yet. I think that's very interesting things out there waiting for us to explore more. That's the experiment today. And super, super interesting and very relevant to today's situations. Okay, so that's all for today. And if you would like to receive more science papers reviews like this, I'm planning to release more. Don't forget to subscribe. And other than that, enjoy your day, and I will see you next time.